Imagine Carlos, 44 years old, married for 15 years, a respected professional in his field, someone who has built a successful career, provides well for his family, maintains his responsibilities, and from the outside looking in, everything appears to be perfectly fine. His colleagues respect him, his friends enjoy his company, his family depends on him, and by all conventional measures of success, Carlos is doing well. But on the inside, something fundamental has changed, something that he can barely admit to himself and certainly hasn't been able to discuss with anyone else. His sex drive, which used to be a natural and consistent part of his life, has decreased dramatically over the past couple of years. The spontaneous desire that used to arise regularly, the initiative he used to take in pursuing intimacy with his wife, the enthusiasm and excitement he felt about sex, all of this has gradually disappeared. Intimacy in his marriage has become rare, perhaps once or twice a month, if that, and even when it does happen, it often feels obligatory rather than passionate, like checking a box rather than experiencing genuine connection and desire. Carlos has begun asking himself difficult and troubling questions. Is this normal for his age? Is this just what happens to men in their 40s, and he should accept it as inevitable? Is the problem actually his marriage? Has he simply been with his wife too long and lost attraction? Is there something medically or psychologically wrong with him? Should he see a doctor? Should he talk to his wife? Should he just try harder to want sex? These questions circle in his mind, but he doesn't have answers. And the uncertainty creates anxiety, which only makes the problem worse. The silence around this issue, the inability to talk about it openly even with the person closest to him, has begun to transform into something heavier and more painful, which is shame. Deep shame about no longer feeling like a sexual man, shame about potentially disappointing his partner, shame about losing what he sees as an essential component of masculinity and vitality. So Carlos does what many men do in this situation. He avoids the subject entirely. He doesn't bring it up with his wife, even though he knows she's noticed the change and is probably confused or hurt by the decreased intimacy. He doesn't mention it to his doctor during his annual checkup, even though it's affecting his quality of life and his relationship. He doesn't talk to friends because what man admits to other men that his sex drive has vanished? This avoidance and silence might feel protective in the moment, like it's preventing an uncomfortable conversation or protecting his ego. But what it's actually doing is creating increasing emotional distance between him and his partner. She doesn't understand what's happening. She may assume he's no longer attracted to her, or that he's having an affair, or that he's angry about something, and he's not providing any explanation or reassurance because he himself doesn't understand what's happening and feels too ashamed to admit his struggle. Over time, this distance can erode even the strongest relationships, transforming what was once a close, intimate partnership into something that feels more like a practical arrangement between roommates than a marriage. This is the modern hero's journey of male sexual health. And if you're watching this video, you either recognize Carlos's story as your own or you want to prevent yourself from ending up in his situation. Carlos represents the man who feels he is losing an essential part of his identity, a part that connects to his sense of masculinity, vitality, attractiveness, youth, and aliveness. But he doesn't know where to begin addressing it. He doesn't know if it's fixable. He doesn't know what's causing it. He doesn't know who to talk to. He doesn't know what steps to take. So he remains stuck, suffering in silence, watching his desire continue to decline, feeling his confidence erode, noticing his relationship suffer, and wondering if this is just his new permanent reality. Hello, and welcome to another video here on the channel. Today, we're going to tackle one of the most common yet rarely discussed problems affecting men over 40, which is the mysterious loss of sex drive that seems to happen gradually and then suddenly becomes impossible to ignore. We're going to understand exactly why men lose their sex drive after 40, explore the real mechanisms and causes behind declining male libido, identify the warning signs that most men ignore until the problem becomes severe, and most importantly, give you the practical step-by-step plan to reverse this process before it becomes permanent. If you're new here, please subscribe and turn on notifications because I consistently create science-based, honest, practical content about men's health, sexual function, relationships, and living your best life. And if this video provides value to you, if it helps you understand what's happening in your own body and what you can do about it, please leave a like to help other men discover this crucial information. Let's be very clear about something from the start. What Carlos doesn't know, and what most men don't understand, is that the loss of sex drive after 40 doesn't happen by chance or bad luck. It's not an inevitable consequence of aging that you must passively accept. It's not a mystery with no explanation. The loss of male libido after 40 is the result of specific, identifiable, addressable physiological and psychological factors that accumulate over time and collectively suppress your natural sex drive. These factors include hormonal changes, particularly declining testosterone, chronic poor sleep quality, and insufficient sleep duration, unmanaged chronic stress that elevates cortisol and suppresses sex hormones, systemic inflammation from diet and lifestyle factors, poor nutrition that fails to support hormonal production and vascular health, sedentary lifestyle and lack of regular exercise, accumulated relationship issues, and decreased emotional intimacy with your partner, psychological factors like anxiety and depression, and often some combination of several or all of these factors working together synergistically to gradually shut down your libido. The insidious thing about this process is that it happens gradually. It's not like you wake up one morning and suddenly have zero sex drive. Instead, it declines incrementally over months and years. You go from thinking about sex multiple times a day to once a day to a few times a week to barely at all. You go from initiating sex frequently to occasionally to rarely to never. You go from responding enthusiastically when your partner initiates to responding half-heartedly to making excuses to avoid it. Each individual step seems small, and you can rationalize it. You're busy, you're tired, you're stressed, you just had sex recently, you'll get back to it soon. But over time, these small decreases accumulate into a dramatic overall decline that fundamentally changes your sexual identity and your intimate relationship. Now let's understand the real mechanisms behind male libido so you can see exactly what's happening in your body and why. Libido, or sex drive, is not a single simple thing. It's the output of multiple complex systems working together. At the foundation, you have your hormonal system, particularly testosterone, which is the primary hormone driving male sexual desire. Testosterone is produced primarily in your testes under the direction of signals from your pituitary gland and hypothalamus in your brain, When testosterone levels are optimal, you experience spontaneous sexual thoughts. You notice attractive people and feel drawn to them. You have morning erections regularly. You feel motivated to pursue sexual activity, and your overall vitality and assertiveness in life tend to be higher. When testosterone levels decline significantly, all of these things decrease proportionally. After age 30, testosterone levels in men begin declining naturally at approximately 1 to 1.5% per year. This is a gradual biological process related to aging. However, the rate of decline is dramatically accelerated by poor lifestyle factors. Chronic stress, insufficient sleep, obesity, sedentary lifestyle, poor nutrition, excessive alcohol consumption, and certain medications can cause testosterone to decline much faster than the natural age-related decrease. By age 45 or 50, many men have testosterone levels that are significantly below optimal, sometimes even below the clinical reference range, and this absolutely impacts libido. The problem is that most men never get their testosterone tested, so they don't know if low testosterone is contributing to their decreased sex drive. They just assume it's normal aging or psychological, when there may be a clear hormonal component that's very treatable. Beyond testosterone, you also have other hormones that affect libido, including thyroid hormones, which regulate metabolism and energy, prolactin, which, when elevated, suppresses sex drive and is often elevated due to chronic stress, cortisol, the stress hormone, which, when chronically elevated, suppresses testosterone production and libido, and estrogen, which in men needs to be balanced appropriately, because too much or too little can impair sexual function. Your hormonal system is incredibly sensitive to your lifestyle, stress, sleep, diet, exercise, and body composition, which is why addressing those factors is so crucial. The second major system affecting libido is your nervous system and neurotransmitters. Sexual desire is initiated and regulated in your brain, particularly in areas like the hypothalamus and limbic system. Neurotransmitters like dopamine, which is associated with motivation, reward, and pleasure, plays a huge role in sexual desire. When dopamine function is optimal, you feel motivated to pursue rewarding activities, including sex. When dopamine is depleted or dysregulated, often due to chronic stress, depression, excessive use of supernormal stimuli like internet pornography, poor sleep, or nutrient deficiencies, your motivation for sex declines. Serotonin is another neurotransmitter that affects libido. And interestingly, while some serotonin is needed for mood stability, excessive serotonin activity, which can result from certain antidepressant medications, particularly SSRIs, often suppresses libido and sexual function significantly. The third system is vascular health and blood flow. While erectile function is more obviously dependent on blood flow, libido is also connected to overall cardiovascular health and circulation. When your vascular system is healthy, blood flow to your brain and throughout your body is optimal, which supports hormonal signaling, neurotransmitter function, and overall vitality. When your vascular system is compromised by inflammation, high blood pressure, atherosclerosis, diabetes, or other factors, everything, including libido, can be affected. Many men notice that as their cardiovascular health declines, their sex drive declines as well, and this is not coincidental. The fourth component is psychological and relational. Your mental state, stress levels, emotional well-being, relationship satisfaction, and feelings about yourself and your partner all dramatically affect libido. Chronic stress is one of the biggest libido killers because it elevates cortisol, which directly suppresses testosterone and sex drive. It keeps your nervous system in a state of activation that's incompatible with sexual arousal, and it mentally preoccupies you so you're not thinking about sex at all. Depression and anxiety also suppress libido through multiple mechanisms. Relationship issues including unresolved conflicts, lack of emotional intimacy, feeling unappreciated or criticized, or simply falling into a boring routine, all reduce sexual desire for your partner even if your biological capacity for sex drive is intact. All of these systems interact and affect each other. Low testosterone makes you more susceptible to depression and stress. Chronic stress depletes neurotransmitters and suppresses testosterone. Poor sleep disrupts hormones and impairs stress resilience. Lack of exercise worsens hormonal profile, vascular health, mood, and body composition. Relationship problems create stress, which affects hormones and neurotransmitters. It becomes a complex web of interacting factors, and this is why addressing libido loss requires a comprehensive approach rather than looking for a single magic bullet solution. Now let's talk about the warning signs that most men ignore until the problem becomes severe. If you recognize multiple warning signs in yourself, this is your wake-up call to take action before the situation gets worse. Warning sign number 1 is decreasing frequency of spontaneous sexual thoughts. If you used to think about sex regularly throughout the day and now realize you go days without thinking about it unless directly prompted, this is significant. Warning sign number 2 is rarely or never initiating sex with your partner. If your partner is always the one initiating, or if sex only happens when she explicitly asks or suggests it, your drive has declined. Warning sign number 3 is decreased or absent morning erections. Morning erections are a sign of healthy testosterone levels and vascular function. If you wake up with an erection most mornings, your system is functioning well. If morning erections become rare or disappear entirely, this is often one of the first signs of hormonal or vascular issues affecting sexual function. Warning sign number 4 is feeling relieved when your partner doesn't initiate sex or when circumstances prevent intimacy. If your first reaction to potential sexual situations is relief that you have an excuse not to engage rather than disappointment or desire, this indicates significant libido suppression. Warning sign number 5 is lack of response to typically arousing stimuli. If things that used to turn you on, whether visual, physical, or psychological, now barely register or don't create any arousal response, your sex drive system is significantly impaired. Warning sign number 6 is decreased overall energy, motivation, and assertiveness in life generally, not just sexually. Low testosterone and the other factors that suppress libido also affect your general vitality, mood, confidence, and engagement with life. Warning sign number 7 is avoidance of situations that might lead to intimacy, such as going to bed at different times than your partner, staying busy with work or hobbies to avoid alone time, or creating physical and emotional distance. Warning sign number 8 is increasing body fat, especially around the midsection, loss of muscle mass, and decreased strength and fitness despite not having changed your exercise routine much. These physical changes often accompany and contribute to hormonal decline. Warning sign number 9 is mood changes, including increased irritability, feeling flat or emotionally blunted, decreased enthusiasm for activities you used to enjoy, or low-grade depression. And warning sign number 10 is your partner expressing a concern, hurt, or confusion about the decreased intimacy. Or alternatively, both of you have stopped talking about sex entirely and just accepted the new low intimacy normal. If you recognize yourself in several of these warning signs, understand that this is actionable information. Your body and mind are giving you clear signals that something needs attention. Ignoring these signs doesn't make the problem go away. It allows it to deepen and become more entrenched, potentially causing permanent changes or severely damaging your relationship. But recognizing these signs early and taking action can reverse the decline and restore your sex drive, often dramatically. So let's talk about the practical plan to restore desire, energy, and confidence. This is not about magic solutions, quick fixes, or shortcuts. This is about strategy, awareness, and consistent action across multiple areas of your life that collectively support healthy male libido. The plan has several components that need to be addressed simultaneously or sequentially depending on your specific situation. Component 1 is hormonal assessment and optimization. You must get your hormone levels checked. Schedule an appointment with your doctor, ideally someone who specializes in men's health or hormone optimization, and request comprehensive hormone testing. This should include total testosterone, free testosterone, sex hormone binding globulin, SHBG, estradiol, prolactin, thyroid panel including TSH, free T3, free T4, cortisol, and potentially DHEA and other markers depending on your symptoms. These tests will show you exactly where your hormones stand and whether hormonal issues are contributing to your low libido. If your testosterone is low, there are treatment options including testosterone replacement therapy through injections, gels, or other methods, as well as strategies to naturally optimize your body's own testosterone production through lifestyle changes. If other hormones are out of balance, those can be addressed as well. You cannot fix what you don't measure, so testing is essential. Component 2 is sleep optimization. If you're not sleeping 7 to 9 hours per night consistently in a dark, quiet environment with good sleep quality, your hormones cannot be optimal and your libido will suffer. Testosterone is produced primarily during deep sleep, so chronic sleep deprivation directly suppresses testosterone production. Establish a consistent sleep schedule, going to bed and waking at the same time every day. Create a bedroom environment conducive to sleep by making it completely dark, cool, around 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit, and quiet or using white noise. Eliminate screens for at least 1 hour before bed as blue light suppresses melatonin and disrupts sleep. Avoid caffeine after mid-afternoon and avoid alcohol close to bedtime, as it fragments sleep, even though it might help you fall asleep initially. Consider supplements like magnesium, which support sleep quality if you're deficient. Track your sleep and prioritize it as non-negotiable because without adequate sleep, nothing else in this plan will work optimally. Component 3 is stress management and cortisol reduction. Chronic stress is absolutely devastating to male libido through its effects on cortisol, testosterone, neurotransmitters, and your psychological state. You must actively manage stress rather than just enduring it. This might include daily meditation or mindfulness practice, even just 10 to 15 minutes, regular exercise, which is both a physical stressor that makes you more resilient and a stress relief mechanism, time in nature, which powerfully reduces stress hormones, breathwork techniques that activate your parasympathetic nervous system, therapy or counseling. If you have significant psychological stress or trauma, setting boundaries at work and in life to prevent chronic overcommitment, and building in regular recovery and relaxation time rather than being constantly busy. The goal is not to eliminate all stress, which is impossible, but to prevent chronic unmanaged stress from suppressing your hormones and sex drive. Component 4 is nutrition for hormonal health and libido. Your diet directly affects your hormone production, neurotransmitter function, inflammation levels, vascular health, body composition, and energy levels, all of which impact libido. Eat adequate healthy fats from sources like olive oil, avocados, nuts, fatty fish, and eggs because fat is the precursor to sex hormone production. Consume sufficient high-quality protein to support muscle mass and overall body composition. Eat plenty of vegetables and some fruits to provide micronutrients, antioxidants, and fiber that support overall health. Minimize or eliminate added sugars and refined carbohydrates, which spike insulin, promote inflammation, and contribute to fat gain and hormonal disruption. Reduce or eliminate alcohol, which suppresses testosterone, disrupts sleep, and provides empty calories. Avoid ultra-processed foods, which are generally inflammatory and nutrient-poor. Ensure adequate intake of key nutrients for testosterone production, including zinc from oysters, red meat, or supplements, magnesium from leafy greens, nuts, and seeds, vitamin D from sun exposure, fatty fish, or supplements, and B vitamins from whole foods. Your nutrition should support a healthy body composition because excess body fat, especially visceral fat, converts testosterone to estrogen and perpetuates low testosterone and low libido. Component 5 is regular exercise, specifically a combination of resistance training and moderate cardiovascular exercise. Lifting weights and doing resistance training stimulates testosterone production, builds muscle mass which supports metabolic health and body composition, improves confidence and body image, and enhances overall vitality. Cardiovascular exercise improves vascular health and blood flow, reduces stress, supports heart health, and helps maintain healthy body composition. However, avoid excessive endurance exercise, which can actually suppress testosterone if done to extreme without adequate recovery. Aim for 3 to 5 exercise sessions per week, mixing strength training and cardio, with adequate rest days for recovery. Component 6 is addressing relationship and intimacy issues. If your relationship has fallen into a rut, if there's unresolved conflict, if emotional intimacy has declined, or if you've both simply stopped making the relationship a priority, this will suppress your libido for your partner even if your biological sex drive is restored. You need to actively work on your relationship. This means scheduling quality time together without distractions, having vulnerable and honest conversations about your relationship, intimacy, desires and concerns, showing affection and appreciation regularly outside of sexual contexts, trying new activities together to break routine and create novelty, addressing conflicts constructively rather than avoiding or sweeping them under the rug, and potentially working with a couples therapist if you need help navigating relationship challenges. Your libido doesn't exist in a vacuum. It exists in the context of your relationship, and both need attention. Component 7 is psychological work. If you're dealing with depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, body image issues, performance anxiety, or other psychological factors, these need to be addressed through therapy. potentially medication, if appropriate and prescribed by a doctor. Cognitive behavioral techniques to change thought patterns, mindfulness and self-compassion practices, and addressing any underlying trauma or psychological issues. Sometimes low libido is primarily psychological in origin, and sometimes psychological factors develop as a result of the physical decline and then perpetuate the problem even after physical factors are addressed. Either way, the psychological component deserves attention. Component 8 is reducing or eliminating libido-suppressing factors. Review all medications you're taking with your doctor to identify if any are known to suppress libido, such as certain antidepressants, blood pressure medications, or others. If they are, discuss with your doctor whether alternatives exist or if the dosage can be adjusted. Reduce or eliminate pornography use, especially if it's frequent, because excessive pornography consumption can dysregulate your dopamine system and reduce desire for real-world sex with a real partner. Limit exposure to endocrine-disrupting chemicals in your environment from sources like plastics, personal care products, and household chemicals, as these can interfere with hormone function. Address any medical conditions that might be contributing, such as diabetes, sleep apnea, thyroid disorders, or others. Now let's imagine Carlos following this plan. He starts by scheduling a doctor's appointment and getting comprehensive blood work, which reveals his testosterone is in the low normal range and his vitamin D is deficient. His doctor discusses options, and Carlos decides to first try lifestyle optimization to see if he can raise his testosterone naturally before considering replacement therapy. He commits to sleeping 8 hours per night consistently and notices his energy improves within a week. He begins a daily 15-minute meditation practice to manage his work stress and starts taking a magnesium and vitamin D supplement. He overhauls his diet, cutting out the junk food and alcohol he was consuming regularly and focusing on whole foods with plenty of healthy fats and vegetables. He starts lifting weights 3 times per week and doing cardio twice per week. He also has a difficult but necessary conversation with his wife, where he explains what he's been experiencing, admits he's been avoiding intimacy due to low desire rather than anything she's done, and expresses his commitment to improving things. She's relieved to finally understand what's been happening and eager to support him. They start scheduling weekly date nights to reconnect emotionally, and they work together to reduce sources of stress and conflict in their relationship. After 6 weeks of consistent implementation, Carlos notices significant changes. His morning erections have returned. He's thinking about sex spontaneously again. His energy and mood have improved dramatically. He's lost some body fat and feels better about his body. Most importantly, he feels desire for his wife returning, and their intimate life begins to improve significantly. After 12 weeks, he gets his blood work rechecked, and his testosterone has increased into the healthy range. His body composition has improved, and he feels like himself again, maybe even better than he felt in his 30s, because now he's being intentional about his health. This is absolutely possible for you. The loss of sex drive after 40 is not inevitable, not irreversible, and not something you have to accept as your new permanent reality. It's a signal from your body that multiple systems need attention, and when you provide that attention through strategic action across hormones, sleep, stress, nutrition, exercise, relationships, and psychology, your libido can return sometimes even stronger than before because you're supporting your body in ways you perhaps never did, even when you were younger. Before we close, let me emphasize several critical points. First, this is not about vanity or just wanting more sex. Libido is connected to your overall vitality, confidence, relationship quality, and sense of self. Restoring it improves your entire life, not just your sex life. Second, you must address multiple factors simultaneously. There's rarely one single cause or one single solution. Success comes from comprehensive lifestyle optimization. Third, be patient but consistent. You didn't lose your sex drive overnight, and you won't get it back overnight. Give the process at least 6 to 12 weeks of consistent effort before evaluating results. Fourth, get professional help when needed. Work with doctors for hormonal assessment, therapists for psychological issues, and counselors for relationship challenges. Don't try to figure everything out alone. And finally, prioritize this. Your sexual health and vitality deserve the same attention and effort you give to your career, your finances, or any other important area of life. Now, I have a question for you, and I really want you to answer in the comments because your participation creates valuable discussion and helps me create better content for you. Here's the question. What do you think is the biggest factor suppressing your sex drive? Is it stress, lack of sleep, hormonal changes you suspect but haven't tested, relationship issues, depression or anxiety, poor diet, lack of exercise, something else? Be honest and specific in the comments. You can remain anonymous if you prefer, but share your situation because when men start talking openly about these issues, we break the shame and isolation, and we all benefit from the collective wisdom and experience. If this video helped you understand what's happening in your body and gave you a clear action plan to restore your sex drive, please hit that like button to help other men find this crucial information. Share this video with someone who needs it. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications because I'll continue creating science-based, practical, honest content about men's health, sexual function, hormones, relationships, and living your best life at any age. Thank you for being here, for watching until the end, for caring enough about yourself to seek solutions rather than just accepting decline. Your willingness to take action is the first and most important step. Now go implement what you learned. Get tested, optimize your sleep, manage your stress, fix your diet, move your body, and work on your relationship, address your psychology, your sex drive, your vitality, and your confidence are waiting on the other side of that effort. I believe in you. See you in the next video. Take care.